Good evening, everyone. It looks like we're live. So it's Sunday, February 6th, 2022. So it's our regular Sunday live stream. For those of you who are new, we do this every Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m. London time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern time in the US to 5 p.m. We're going to have Rafi Farber of the Endgame Investor and also of Rafi Farber, his YouTube channel. He'll be joining us in about 10 minutes at 9 o'clock. As usual, I'm a little early just to say hello to everyone. I'll go to a question from Dmitry Shmerkovich, who's already given a super chat even before we started. Thank you very much, Dmitry. His question is, I've been saving mostly in US dollars and 25% in metals. Is it prudent to save in metals only? Is deliberate policy mistake possible by the Fed not raising rates and ushering two-step crash, stocks late followed by bonds? So you've got a few questions there. And this is the way I think. It's not my advice. I consider gold and silver cash. And I'm not in the US, so I don't save in US dollars and I don't save in British pounds. Of course, I do have to keep a balance of British pounds for expenses, for taxes, but I try to keep as little as possible because fiat currencies, they're always, over the long term, they're always losing value relative to gold and silver and relative to everything. And as far as the Fed, deliberate mistake, I don't think they are trying to do it deliberately. I think what the Fed is trying to do, and we're going to look at this later on, is that they're trying to keep inflating and pretending that they're fighting inflation. And why is that? Well, because the debt is so big and they can't really afford to rein in the inflation because they create the inflation. So we're going to hear a lot of central banks, Fed included, talking tough, but basically what they're doing is financial repression. They're basically running the economy hot. Nominally, GDP is going to go up a lot, but in real terms is actually going to go down. But that's going to write off the debt because it's going to become worth less and less. And that's going to hurt the general public, of course. Higher cost of living is going to hurt savers. And I think it's going to hurt even the very wealthy. Stocks and bonds are going to not do well. And that's why I feel that hard assets are the place to be still. I know it's been tough. We're still very heavily undervalued, but I think that's the way to go. Joseph Fury, thank you for your super chat. Good evening, Mary and Billy. I have 60% silver, 40% gold. Do you think I should sell some gold to get some silver? Whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah. I think silver will outperform, but I think your proportion there looks fine. That's what I would say. I'm just going to say hello to everyone else. We've got Juan Crespo, Cheshire Yeoman is here. Simon Bevan says, be strong in the Lord in his mighty power. We've got Grow Mechanic, Hi Grow Mechanic. Rumpelstiltskin, nice to see you. Rumpelstiltskin from based in Japan. So it's early there on Monday, I guess. We've got Luder92, Marek Kalenda. A lot of comments on geopolitics. We're going to touch upon that. Rodolfo Rodriguez, hi Rodolfo. Music lover forever. Belly Dance Rabia. And I like to thank everyone because I'm talking to you now for all the comments and all my videos. Sometimes it's difficult for me to reply to all of you, but hopefully through the live stream, I'm able to answer some of your questions. Yeah, I haven't taught Billy yet how to reply to comments. Yeah, Cheshire Yeoman, everyone as well. Thank you. Butch Michael says, I want stuff like Vale out of Brazil. I have some shares in that company. I bought it about a month ago. They have a pretty big dividend, and I think it's a good company to be exposed to commodities, especially iron ore and other base metals. Canadian Gal is here. Wide Winger is here. Jillian B. Hi, Jillian B. Joker Alpha. Rafi Farber will not comply. That's right. Carlos Garcia. Hi, Carlos. Gavster Legrand. Good evening, Gavster. Belly Dance Arabia. We said hi already. Jane Reynolds from France. Where's your accent from? Says BK Johnson. I don't know. It's from my mouth. Well, I was originally born in Brazil. I grew up in Brazil. I learned English relatively young. I've been in the UK since 1992. I did go to university in the States, but yeah, this is my accent. Some people think it's from the Northeast of the US or even sometimes Canadian. They think it's a Canadian accent. So we've got Music Lover Forever. Graham Hobbs. Hi, Graham. Nice to see you. Neil Hahn. Raimundo. Hi, Raimundo. Bruno Silva from Portugal. Alan Zibelman. Nice to see you. JP Millward. Hi, JP. Alain Roy from Canada. Oz Kagan. Mario, what do you think about mining stocks? Yeah, they are basically a leverage play on precious metals. So what you need to realize is that they're very, very volatile, and you might have to sit through some sharp drops. But I'm hanging on to my precious metals mining stocks, and yeah, it's been up and down, mostly flat to down, but yeah, I'm holding on to them and adding on to them as well. And there's a few kinds of mining stocks. There's the big miners like Barrick, Newmont, Franco-Nevada, which is like a royalty one. And then you've got the smaller ones and the junior miners and explorers, companies that haven't found gold but are looking for it, who will probably be gobbled up by the big miners, and those are even more volatile. But they can you could put let's say £1,000 or $1,000 and then end up making 50,000. They could be 50 baggers in a bull market in precious metals. Manana says hi. Hello, Manana. Kevin, I live here. Nice weather year round. Dave Martin from Cornwall. Rafi, I don't think he ever got his silver from Comex. We can ask him today. He should be coming on soon. Bingo Wings. When do you think precious metals will fly? Well, I don't know. looking at the charts, it looked like soon, but it looked like they were going to fly last year. But I don't know. I wouldn't like to guess. Hold on. Rafi's here. Let's admit him. Hi, Rafi. How are you?
I'm positive and I'm hopeful. How are
Oh,
you?
me too. Yeah, yeah. You got to keep your chin up, I guess.
Yeah.
Someone just asked if you got your silver from Comex. I don't think you did you?
No, I can't do it.
So you guys just sold the warrant and got
Yeah,
the
close
money
out.
back?
Yeah, close out the warrant. Yeah.
I see, I see. So it just, yeah, I've when you guys decided to do that, I thought, they're gonna have a tough time because they don't encourage that, and especially with the fact that with the silver squeeze movement, I wouldn't be surprised if they've been told by the CFTC not to allow small investors to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's possible if I opened up an LLC and went through all these hoops. I'm just
Yeah.
it's beyond my logistical capabilities here.
Yeah. So I usually start a little early the live stream, so I've been saying hello to everyone. We had a question here, right, even before I started out, about holding gold or cash. That they hold 25% gold and the rest in dollars. I said I prefer holding gold and silver, and if I hold pounds, it's just for expenses. How do you feel about that?
It's always good to have some amount of cash, because I think in the immediate aftermath of like a financial crisis, cash will be king for at least a few days, at least.
Yeah,
Maybe a month. I don't know how long, but I mean, I would keep some cash on hand, but I wouldn't make it like a substantial portion of your wealth.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
short
yeah,
term tiding over if there's chaos or something.
yeah. Because cash over fiat, any currency that's started by a government, whenever they start it, that's the top of it. You can bet that over the long term, it's going to be devalued. So we're going to look here at some questions. Someone said here, I loved your videos on the Canadian truckers. Everyone should check them out. Yeah, Rafi, he's got a YouTube channel now as well. It's Rafi Farber. It's not just his newsletter.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I enjoyed making those videos because I remember I did an interview with Claudio Grass, I think in mid 2020 when I was really depressed about what was going on.
Mm,
And we were at the height of lockdowns and all this stuff. And I was just saying to him that like I have these like visions in my head that sustain me of people just partying in the streets, just defying everything and just going crazy and having fun with their kids. And I'm seeing exactly that happening in Ottawa. And I'm watching these short little videos on Twitter and stuff of just like bounce houses and kids having fun in like huge bundles of winter clothing and must be freezing their
mm,
butts off there. And they're just enjoying it and hearing all these parties just going on all night in these hotels booked completely by truckers and their allies and just people just having fun the first time in 2 years. And it just
yeah.
feels great.
Joker Alpha asks Mario, would it be prudent to get government involvement to investigate why Comex cannot deliver silver? Actually, it would be a waste of time, I would say, because the government is in bed with the regulators and Comex. You heard back last year how at the time he was the acting chairman of the CFTC. Now he's the chairman. He said, "Oh, we worked with Goldman Sachs and the other banks to tamp down, the price of silver." So yeah, I would say it was a waste of time. What would you say, Rafi?
It's a waste of time for practical outcome. You're not going to get anything legal, any legal redress from it. But there are people that go after Benham and that crowd because that's their thing. I mean, Chris Marcus does that. That's his brand, and I encourage him. If that's what you want to do, and that's how you bring attention to this, then go for it. But this is not going to be solved in a court controlled by government because they're at the core of this. So
Yeah. We had a question before you just came on asking when is gold going to take off, and I always hate trying to predict that. Have you got any ideas?
I can't give you a date, but
What do you
then again,
mean? What do you mean you can't give us a date?
That's what I mean. It's not really gold taking off. It's the dollar collapsing. That's the real question. When is the dollar going to collapse? When people realize who people. I mean, I would maybe foreigners. Who's gonna be the first in line to be the biggest
Yeah.
biggest party to realize this? When people realize that the Fed cannot stop inflation no matter what it does.
Yeah. And the other thing,
I mean rising prices. I mean
yeah,
rising consumer prices.
yeah, no, that's all right. I'm not going to hold you to that.
Okay.
Well, we saw as well that Russia and China decided on a 30-year deal, natural gas deal. Russia will be selling natural gas to China, and they decided to use the euro as a currency, which I thought was quite significant. That's like a shot across the bow of the dollar. I've got another question here. I'll try to answer that. It says Raymondo says, how will Glint work after the reset? I'm not sure what reset you're talking about. Is it like the market reset? I mean, Glint is going to be, it's not going to change. It's going to work the way it is. And how it works is you have an account in your app with Glint, and if you hold gold with them, it's allocated, and in your name. They hold the gold in Switzerland, and then you have your card as well. You can spend that gold, or you can switch that gold as well to dollars, euros, or pounds. I'm not sure if they have other currencies. I'm not sure a reset would really affect them, and they've got their gold with Brinks. So, of course, nothing is certain in life, and that's why I stick. I do have a Glint account, but it's all a matter of preference. Mr. Siljidi, can you ask Rafi why he thinks that they will eventually lose control on inflation after introduction of CBDC? How long will CBDC survive? Would you like to try to answer that?
I don't know if it'll even have time to implement it. I think Alistair McLeod at Gold Money wrote an article. I didn't read it, but saying that basically they're stillborn and there's not enough time to set this all up. Basically, like when people ask me about CBDC, I don't see it as anything special or anything different than what we have now. I mean, what we have now is digital dollars. People use credit cards, people do bank transfers, whatever it is. I mean, what's the difference if you're using a credit card or a blockchain? There's no difference. It's just a different way of recording a transaction. I mean, CBDC is worse because everything is trackable, but even now everything's trackable. They just need to ask the credit card company, tell me what that guy bought in such and such a date, and the credit card company will tell them. They can know everything if they want. It's just easier to do with the CBDC. But the technological backing of a digital dollars, it's irrelevant to how people act with them.
Yeah, I saw something. I think it was the Boston Fed talking about CBDCs and digital currencies, and there was an article, I think, on Market Watch or Yahoo Finance, and saying the CBDC would be backed by the Fed. So basically, backed by nothing. And I think they will. I think the CBDC will be a big failure in terms of being a good store of value. We've got a super chat here. Thank you, Dmitry Shmerkovich. Good evening, gentlemen. What do you think about play on fertilizer stocks given Putin's nitrate export embargo? Any views on that, Rafi?
Well, yeah, I don't focus on these stocks because I don't know the industry that well, but look, if you want to, you can do your own research. It's not good. It's not that hard to do. If you were interested in fertilizer stocks, go look at a company that sells fertilizer, look at their balance sheet, look at their history, look at their jurisdiction,
Yeah,
and see what what they're
yeah.
doing and how they're doing it.
It's probably a little bit late now, but you could still look at it because it's been announced already. I think a lot of people probably looked into it. But another question here from Scott 49140. What's the difference between gold and the proof coins? Um, yeah, basically, if you buy a gold eagle, 1 ounce gold eagle, if it's really shiny, it's proof. It's usually to do with collectors' coins. There are some coins that are, yeah, they have a real luster to them, and but they're still gold, and they might have a bit more of a premium. Anything to add on that, Rafi?
Well, if you're a numismatist and you like this stuff,
Yeah.
it's all it's like an art collection. If you like art, buy art. But a lot of the value is not in the bullion itself. So you're not really buying gold. You're buying,
Mhm.
a piece of gold art,
Yeah.
which is different.
Yeah. So Joker Alpha says you cannot purchase silver from COMEX. It must be declared fraudulent. Well, I agree, Joker Alpha. It's more for the big boys, the commercials, the bullion banks. They get the physical, but that's why I call it Crimex, because it's not a real. If you want to buy silver, you should go to your local dealer or do it online. Not try to go to COMEX. Unfortunately, Rafi tried, and he tried really hard. I remember all the stuff you did, and they still wouldn't. They gave him the warrant, but then they stopped at that.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Uh, Bingo Wings. How do you overcome COMEX when we are against paper? How does the system fall? Do you want to answer that, Rafi? That one?
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly how it's going to fall or what the exact process is going to look like, but we see it already starting. We're seeing backwardation, meaning higher spot prices in most commodities, especially oil is very deep. We're seeing it in copper and oil and agricultural commodities. They're all more expensive in the present than they are in the future, which is going to spread eventually to silver. Which silver is kind of it's alternating between backwardation and contango. So that meaning that the spot silver price is barely more expensive than the futures price, and it's going in and out. And the end will see that the spot prices of gold just go up and up, where the future prices of gold keep falling relative to that, and that'll destock all the gold in COMEX, and then they'll default. I mean, it seems like a long way off, but once it starts, it's going to be quick.
It will be a rush. Yeah, the other thing as well, back in the 60s, there was an overt price control for gold called the London Gold Pool. And it was the major treasuries of the Western world trying to keep gold at $35. But it failed because they were running out of gold. So they eventually had to let the price of gold float from 35, and it went all the way up to almost 900 in about 12 years. So that's the other thing as well. It's eventually, like here in the UK, they cap the price of energy. They cap it, and then we've had a shortage this winter, and prices went through the roof. Companies went bust because they had to buy energy at a higher price than the government capped, and eventually the price will have to rise. So that's the way I look at it. Some more questions here. Oh yeah, Sean Jones. Sean, I hope I pronounced that right. SIAN Jones, investing jewelry. Well, I'll answer that. And if you want to answer it as well afterwards, Rafi, go ahead. I would say living here in the UK, there's a lot of Asians, or in the US, you'd call them Indians, or Pakistani, not so much the Pakistani, more the Asians from India. They save a lot in jewelry, gold, and you can there. I haven't been to any specialist Asian jewelry stores, but there are some in London, and you can buy 22 karat jewelry. Almost, you buy it like you're buying bullion. But if you're gonna have jewelry as investment, don't buy it from a normal Western jeweler because they put a huge premium on it. I would try to get it from an Asian jewelry store.
Yeah, I think Peter Schiff has a site that he either co-owns or something. It's something involved with Schiff. It's called Mene, I think MENE.
Oh,
And
I
the
see.
idea, yeah, the idea is it's a it's the premium is like stat or constant or static, and it tells you how many grams of gold you're buying per piece.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a low jewelry premium, like basic design. And the advantage of jewelry is it's easier to bring through airports, I think, and travel if you need to bring it with you.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So
Rafi, someone's saying here, why are you looking so sad? And someone's saying, Rafi, smile. But when you came on, you said you're really happy and positive. So I guess you guys haven't been here since the beginning, right?
I'm not particularly sad today.
Well, and the other thing as well, it's 11 o'clock in Israel, isn't it? So it's a bit
Yeah.
late. So,
Yeah, I'm all right though.
late in the day.
Sorry,
Uh,
maybe it's the beard. Who knows?
beer. Yeah, you've had a few beers.
No, maybe it's the beard.
Oh, the beard. Oh, yeah, it's grown quite a bit. Lord Humongous. Hi, Lord Humongous. Nice to see you. Heart of Texas. Will you eat bugs and like it? No, I don't think so. I'll stick with normal food. What about you?
I do want to eat some locusts. They are kosher,
Are
but
they?
I've never had them.
Okay. They supposed to taste well. We got B. Warikum Stacker says, my people from the land of the long white clouds, how are you all doing? Wonderful Monday morning. Lily Robin says, I have an Indian friend. She takes gold coins to India once a year and has them make her bracelets. They don't charge much either. She has almost all her gold and jewelry. Yeah, the other thing I would say and this is more depends on what you like as well, your taste, but watches, Swiss watches can be a good way to transport value across borders without customs control. I read that a lot of wealthy people in China who are disenchanted with the real estate market, they've been buying expensive Swiss watches, and it's a way to take out some of their capital out of China because there's a limit of how much they can take. So if they buy a really expensive Swiss watch, it's very discreet. You put it, your sleeve over it, and a lot of times the people at customs or security, they don't really know that it's worth much.
Mhm.
Oh, Rafi, I've got some questions here or some topics because you think the bond bull market is over, and the bear market, the last bear market, really ended in 1981. Looking back, so it's about. And I think in 2020, we saw a bottom at like 0.3% in the 10-year. So do you think it's going to be like over the next 40 years? Do you see a gradual rise in yields over the next 40 years? Or do you see some kind of incident? Because last week we saw a lot of not just US 10-year yield, but a lot of the European bonds that they went through kind of through the roof. I mean, German 10-year has gone from negative a couple of weeks ago and is now at 0.2.
Look, it's a really strange question. And not that the question is strange, but it's really hard to answer because when you say interest rates or interest rates going to rise the next 40 years, interest rates are so artificial and so manipulated that the whole idea of interest rates in terms of human time preference, the interest rate is supposed to tell you, how what kind of profit people are demanding for loaning money, or the stages between production, what's the going rate of profit. And the fact that central banks have been buying so much of this paper is just making everything so messed up. So you ask me, what's the interest rates going to be in the next 40 years? We need to get to a state of nature where the actual time preference of humans in terms of what they're demanding for their capital becomes revealed. And the only way to do that is to have an honest money again.
Yeah, and
So
free market as well.
yeah, so I see this whole, meaning the whole bond bull market is over, because what real interest rates are like -5, -6, which
Yeah.
doesn't make any natural sense. It means people are eating into their capital and destroying their own wealth. So this is going to end, and interest rates are going to become positive. And from there, the dollars, I don't think it's not going to survive as a fiat currency. If it survives at all, it's going to survive as a gold-backed currency again. And then we can figure out what interest rates are again in an honest sense. But
Yeah, I think they're going to remain negative in real terms. We've got here Chris Georgica. He's been I think he wants to know about SOFR and Libor. I mean, I made quite a few. I think I have Libor files as a playlist. Basically, SOFR is the reference rate that the Federal Reserve wants to bring about for the US dollar, because the Libor rate is the London Interbank Offered Rate. And back in the 09 crisis, even the central banks manipulated that. They told the bankers to basically lie about their, because it's an offered rate that was set every day by the bankers. And basically, it was an unsecured loan to another bank. And they used to call each other to fix the Libor rate. And it went through the roof in the 08-09 crisis because all the banks were going bust. No one wanted to make a market. So Libor lost a lot of its reputation, but it's used though as a reference rate, not just for derivatives, like over a quadrillion of derivatives, but also for mortgage rates in the US and everywhere else, and other loans. But the bankers who trade this stuff and use this Libor, they've been used to using that. So they've had a tough time switching everyone to SOFR, SOFR. And yes, and they're not, the bankers, it's like, I don't know, it's like someone who's been used to using inches all their life, and then they're told to use centimeters. And that's what it's all about. But switching all these contracts from Libor to SOFR could cause a lot of accidents, in the markets, because they affect derivatives. And I would say as well, Libor is a loan, unsecured loan, and SOFR though is not unsecured. So they're not really the same, but they've just been kicking the can down the road on that. So there you go. Any views on Libor and SOFR?
well, yeah, the SOFR, so the SOFR, secure overnight financing rate, that's the repo rate that went all crazy in September 2019. So I mean, they say it's secured, and the difference is it's based on a real market as opposed to Libor, where bankers are just writing on a piece of paper what they would get offered. But yeah, so SOFR is more liquid in that sense, but it's also just manipulated because the Fed has its thumb on it every day, and it's gonna explode again. And
I think what happened in 2019, it's good you reminded me, it was they're probably trying to switch from Libor to SOFR, and that's what caused maybe the problem.
Who knows?
Yeah. But anyway, the derivatives are a huge problem, and it's all part of the leverage in the system, not just the all the credit cards, all the mortgages, government debt, corporate debt, it's all related. And I think derivatives have helped keep prices manipulated because they can drive the underlying market, not just in gold and silver, but in bonds and everything else. Joker Alpha, my inflation story, I bought a ribeye steak at the market for $27, more than the spot price of silver. Inflation is steep. There you go. Well, let's see. T4 parts. Mara, did you see a video Chris Marcus of Arcadia put on, Canadian MP, explaining where fiat currency comes from? I haven't seen Chris Marcus' video, but I think I heard that Canadian MP a few months ago. Have you heard that?
Is he the one with the glasses, the kind of nerdy guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a French name.
yeah, I've heard him. I'm very impressed with him. We
Yeah,
talk about, and I don't these Canadians, these opposition leaders, they've got to strike now. I mean, Trudeau has like fled the city. They basically come in and take over the country. Let them do it.
yeah. We got a question here from Bingo Wings. What weight denomination will we use when precious metals are exponentially higher? I think you asked the question earlier, Bingo Wings, about what I think what you mean is when the dollar collapses massively, how will you denominate gold? And I think having spoken to Arpad from Star Path Academy, you're just going to have to, you're going to have to value gold or silver versus, I don't know, a gallon of gasoline or, or a steak. It will be, the weight will still be the same, grams, troy ounces, and the same for silver. So yeah, maybe if that's the thing though, in the hyperinflation, like in Venezuela, what would $64,000 one day mean, for the price of gold? And then it's just I don't think the dollar will be, or the Federal Reserve note will be, a very good numeraire, so to speak. What do you think, Rafi?
Well, what could end up happening is gold hits $35,000 an ounce, and then they decide to freeze it there and make it convertible at 35,000, lop off 3 zeros, and we're back to 1971. That happens a lot in hyperinflationary situations. They just take off zeros. But if there is gold in Fort Knox, that would be a nice round number to do it. I think that's how they ended the hyperinflation in Weimar, right? I think the Renton mark hint, the mark hit a trillion marks per ounce of gold or something, and then they lopped it off there and made the Renton mark and took off 9 zeros. I mean, this is usually how it ends. But if not, if the dollar dies completely, then you can just denominate goods in terms of ounces of silver. I mean, what's in saying ounces of silver or dollars? It's just a different word.
Yeah. Well, Bingo Wing says, how do you pay for a loaf of bread with an ounce of silver? Well, that's why that's why I also have what people call junk silver. So this is a shilling from 1900. So that's less than an ounce. Or you can use a silver dime as well to pay for, silver coins are not just in an ounce. And yeah, you can have really small silver coins like a dime or a quarter. It doesn't have to be an ounce. Even a silver dollar from pre-65, that's about 0.72 of an ounce. So yeah,
just trying to fix the lighting.
Okay. Timo says some experts predict gold being worth in the tens of thousands of dollars. Do either of you think the Fed will let that happen, or is it not going to be in their control? I think they could lose control of it. And I think the question from Bingo Wings was when they lose complete control and it's in the billions or trillions, then, you know, I think it's what von Mises and probably even Rothbard said, people won't want to, they won't want to accept any paper or fiat currency because it's worthless. So you're going to have to, people will quickly work out how much things are worth against each other, you know, especially gold and silver, because gold and silver are money. And what does that mean? Well, they're the most marketable commodities, or it could be, who knows, iPhones could become money, or you know, the vape or cigarettes. You know, like in Germany after World War II, American cigarettes were used a lot as a currency.
Mhm. Yeah, look, we've been trading gold and silver for stuff for thousands of years. The
Yeah.
fact that people ask these questions, and you know, I also ask the question like, how is it that I'm going to start exchanging my junk silver for actual stuff? But like, then I think this is how money has been for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So what am I worried about? It'll be fine.
It just happens. Uh, Chris Georgica, yeah, we already answered that. Rafi did not get his silver bar from Comex. Someone just asked again. Uh, uh, Azurson says Milton Friedman, Hayek, and Rothbard are awesome. Well, I kind of beg to differ with you. I know Milton Friedman was a free market proponent, but I don't think he was a sound money proponent. He never questioned the Federal Reserve. And actually, when Nixon closed the gold window, he said that gold would go down to its basically to zero. It would be demonetized. Rothbard is more of a sound money person. I'm not too sure about Hayek. Hayek was more free market guy. But any views on Friedman, Hayek, and Rothbard, Rafi?
Well, yeah, Friedman had awesome aspects about him, no doubt. But he was a very negative figure because sort of like Reagan, you know, Reagan had awesome aspects about him too, but he was a wedge to the, you know, the military industrial complex and huge spending. It started with Reagan.
Yeah,
And basically the withholding tax started with Milton Friedman. He's the one who helped institute it,
yeah,
and socialized money and centralized money really became legitimized with Friedman's stamp of approval because he
mm,
was the free market guy, so to speak, and he was the one who was able to give the government all this power to control the most important industry, which is the industry of money itself, which controls all the other industries.
yeah,
So yeah, Friedman was a big failure in that regard, and sort
yeah.
of controlled opposition that was a tool for government power, unfortunately.
Uh, Rafi, can you see the screen I'm sharing?
Yes.
Yeah, because we've seen lately that gold has been hovering around this either side of 1800, and someone said, "Oh, who's buying? You know, is it a whale?" And I don't know if you saw this tweet from Friday from David Brady. Apparently, the commercials, they cut their short position by 48,000 contracts. So I think that those are the guys that are covering, their short covering, um, you know, their short positions. So I'm not sure if it's China or a big whale. It's just the bullion banks, in my opinion. Have you got any thoughts about that, Rafi?
The COTs, I don't take them all that seriously. Ever since I talked to a guy with a family office in the Caribbean who basically said, if you want to hide or change your category in the COT reports, for example, if you're a bullion bank and you want to be commercial and you want to be categorized as a instead of a swap as a producer, all you got to do is buy, you know, a truckload of whatever commodity, and then you're considered a producer or a merchant instead of a bullion or instead of a bank. Or
Yeah,
there are ways to get around these reports and to fudge them so that people are
yeah,
tricked as to what they're actually looking at. So I don't maybe I don't know. All I'm seeing is that gold isn't going below 1800, so somebody's buying below 1800. I don't care who it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've noticed, like Yeah, I think it was the other day. I think it was Wednesday. They or Thursday. It went from like above 1800 all the way to 88, and then bounced right back up. It's almost like a basketball. Um, Trying to sink a basketball underwater and keeps coming back up. Uh, One Tango Man, have you seen the Mark Dice video of him trying to trade a gold maple leaf for whatever someone on the street might be willing to trade? He couldn't get anyone to take the trade. Yeah, I saw that. I've seen some other ones. He's trying to give people a silver bar. He's got like a Snickers bar or a candy bar, and they'd rather have the candy bar. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who don't know the value of gold and silver, but that doesn't mean to say that if the currency went into a crisis, people would learn very quickly. And these people who refused, to take a 1 ounce gold maple leaf, well, that's their bad. They're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, there's a good way to conceptualize this, right? If we go back to a time when silver really was the backing of the dollar, meaning you handed in your silver to a bank and you got dollars as a convenience, and then you start circulating these around, and then but let's say somebody doesn't know that dollars are silver backed, he just comes into the country and he's just using this currency because this is what people use. And then you say, do you want, and then there's a run on the currency and somebody says, do you want the silver or do you want the dollar? And he'll say he wants the dollar because he doesn't understand what's behind it. But once the dollars don't work anymore, all these people who won't be able to buy their candy bars will ask, well, what do I need to
Yeah.
buy a candy bar? And then they'll see they'll need silver, so they'll go for that.
So it's a dollar bill, really, isn't it? It's a promissory note for a silver dollar. And most people now seem to think that the promissory notes or the digital entries are the real dollar. So yeah, it's all gone, everything in, not just in money, but in medicine and politics, in education, everything's upside down, unfortunately. SC, Mario and Rafi, what are the chances that the authorities do not know in advance what the negative consequences of lockdowns and mandates are for the economy and financial systems? It's all planned. So he thinks it's been all planned. What do you think, Rafi?
I wish it was all. It would make things easier if it was all planned, but I don't think these people are as smart as we make them out to be. I mean, I don't know who frustrates me more, the people on their side of the divide, the ones who are like, let's lock down because we need to protect ourselves from the virus or whatever, or the people on our side that say that there's everything is perfectly planned and there's no way we can escape, and they're all evil geniuses and they have everything under control and we're just going to be slaves and there's nothing we can do about it. I don't believe either side. I mean, I think these people are all power hungry. I don't think they're that smart. I think they're kind of clownish. And they're all fighting with each other, and you'll see they'll turn their knives on each other immediately when it's
Yeah.
advantageous to them.
And I think
So
they used the crisis as well in 2020 as an excuse to basically bail out everyone again.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't think they thought, oh, let's start a crisis so we can bail out people. No, they just took it as an opportunity because they said, everyone was focusing on the pandemic. So, and the Fed would say, oh, we had to do it, and don't forget the repo crisis started in September 2019. So, and at the time they were doing not QE. So it was just another excuse. Rafi's Azursons is asking, what are your favorite economists and why?
My my favorite economist is probably Mary Rothbard, and then Mises. Mises is probably a better economist, but Rothbard is much clearer writing, so I enjoy him a lot more. And there's also contemporary. There's Dr. Walter Block, who I'm close with, and There's Tom Woods, who's more of a historian than an economist, but his books are also really, good pop economics books like Meltdown, on the 2008 crisis. He's really good, and of course Ron Paul.
Yeah, I like Ron Paul as well. I mean, I learned a lot from Ron Paul, and I also met him at the Mises Institute in 2002. I went there for the 20th anniversary. I like both of those as well, Mises, Rothbard. I also like reading Greenspan, believe it or not, his Golden Economic Freedom. I thought that was quite a good essay, even though he became a central banker later on. And who else? Yeah, modern day economists, not that many. I guess that Richard Werner, Professor Werner, he's a German guy based in the UK. He's quite interesting, but I don't agree.
There's Rabbi Israel Kirzner, who's
Yeah,
he's a Talmudist and he's an Austrian economist. So he's
yeah. Um, oh, Kesara, Rafi, someone's asking if you can answer this question. What is your opinion on Kabbalah and gematria?
Oh, Kabbalah.
Kabbalah.
Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism. I don't study it.
Yeah.
Pop Kabbalah, I'm not a fan of it.
Mm.
This is stuff for people who've already mastered the Talmud. It's not my field. Gematria is just math.
Gematria is
Um,
just a study of numbers, isn't it?
yeah, it's like you take Hebrew words in the Torah and you add up certain each letter has different numbers. So if you add up certain numbers and it equals a certain thing, for example, the name of God and the name of and the word nature just happens to have the same math.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
yeah, things like that and little codes like that. It's interesting and it's fun. I don't really put all that into it, other than it's interesting.
Mm.
That's all I'll say.
I've got some more. Oh yeah, I wanted to show. I don't know if you've seen this, Rafi. It's the where is it? Let me share it. Uh, it's the Buffett indicator. So market cap to GDP, Wilshire 5000. Any views on that, or
Market cap. Oh, what is this?
it's the
Oh,
market cap of the whole US stock market divided by GDP, and it's the highest it's been since since Nixon closed the gold window. In terms of, it's coming off a little bit here, and the mean is just below 100% there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, GDP it's kind of itself is kind of a meaningless
Oh yeah.
aggregate, because if you're going to increase the amount of money, you're going to increase the amount of transactions in that monetary unit. So
Yeah, and the
what?
government has been also spending so much because they've been running huge deficits. It's making the GDP look better.
Yeah, well, if government spending is part of GDP, then the more you spend, the more GDP will be. I mean, it's not, it's like curving your own test.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's see if we got another fun numbers wars. Oh yeah, the what do you think of the situation in the Ukraine and as it pertains to Russia? I saw that Macron, now the president of France, said he's going to meet with Putin in Moscow, and he thinks he can negotiate a deal there, while the Americans have come out and said that they could invade the Ukraine and be in Kiev in 2 days, while the Ukrainians are saying, no, we're not worried about the Russians invading. And one of the Russians, I think he's the ambassador, deputy ambassador to the UN, said that thinking that Russia is going to invade the Ukraine is like thinking that the US would invade the UK. Have you got any views? Do you think it's a diversion? this whole?
I don't know. My feeling is this last crisis with COVID is kind of waning now, and they need something else to distract people. Just looking at, just to give a little example. Um, People are I see a lot of tweets about the situation in Israel with the restrictions here, and even the people like Alex Berenson get it wrong about what's actually happening here with the Green Pass and this kind of stuff. And so if you're not on the ground in the country, then you'll probably end up mistaken, even if you're, a supposed expert on the topic like Berenson is on these restrictions and stuff, which he follows all the time. I don't think any of us really know what is going on in Ukraine and Russia and who is planning what. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
And whatever happens, happens. But
yeah.
I know something's gonna blow up. Maybe this will be the trigger, maybe it'll be something else. But I'm just preparing for the worst.
I think it's more to do with the economy. The economies are slowing down. We saw the Atlanta Fed come out and say they're almost expecting a recession in the first quarter. So what better thing to do than war to get the economy going? You have to build a lot of weapons, destroy a lot of things, rebuild them. Am I saying I'm for war? No, but that's what they usually do. It's the same thing that happened in 2002 and 3. They invaded Afghanistan, and then 2003 they invaded Iraq. And there we just come off, the dot-com bubble bursting and a fairly deep recession in the beginning of the century. So I think that's what it is. And I saw someone made a comment about Macron negotiating as if it was they didn't really buy into that. But I think Macron and the Germans as well, they don't want to alienate the Russians because they do deals. They want to trade with the Russians, and we depend in Europe, especially, a lot on their natural gas. So going to war with Russia is not a good thing. Maybe for America it would, and for Biden it would be a good distraction, and he'd get maybe I don't even know if the public would rally against him though. What do you think, Rafi? You probably know more than I do what's going on there.
I do. I would talk if you have any Ukrainian friends. I'd talk with them. They probably know more, especially if they're actually in the country.
But in terms of the U.S., though, I can't see uh, a lot of Americans, rallying behind Biden because of a war in the Ukraine. Do you see that?
I think one of the reasons why people were so against Vietnam is because it was causing price inflation, or it was the
Yeah,
70s were very price inflationary, and some people really got mad and didn't want to fight Vietnam anymore. So
yeah,
people were more worried about inflation than they are what's happening in Ukraine. And if they're getting poorer, they're going to want to not be spending money
yeah.
fighting
And,
Russians.
and I would say a lot of people don't even know where the Ukraine is on the map. Uh, let's see. HZJ, thank you for your super chat. Uh, let's see. Any more questions? Deutsche Bank is Deutsche Bank bankrupt? Well, Deutsche Bank is like all the major banks. I mean, they've been kept alive by all the QE, all the central bank manipulations. What do you think, Rafi?
Deutsche Bank is like the fourth reincarnation of banks that have collapsed 3 or 4 times throughout the 20th century.
Yeah,
So they're going to collapse again, and then they'll be refolded into something else. And
yeah. Gordon Hamilton, thank you for your super chat. Does Rafi think that silver producers are paid government subsidies to compensate for the paper price, much like farmers are paid subsidies? I
no,
don't
I
think
don't
they
see any
are.
evidence of that.
No, I don't see it either. No, I mean, silver, uh, I guess foodstuffs are, I think they do that with sugar. I heard that. I'm not sure if they still do it. in the US, they pay, I think they put a quota on imported sugar to make sure that sugar produced in the US is sold. So the consumer pays more. And yeah, but I don't think they would do that with silver. um, Benoit Guillou, do you think Germany shut down all their nuclear reactors as a backdoor deal with NATO so that there was a conflict in Middle Europe? A missile strike wouldn't irradiate the Northern Hemisphere. I never thought about that. Uh, I always thought that one of the reasons for Germany, I think it was Merkel when they had Fukushima in 2011, that accident there, the Germans decided to go off the nuclear energy. But whether they did that because they were scared that the Russians would bomb nuclear reactors, I don't know. I don't think so. What do you think, Rafi? I never thought about that.
I don't know, it's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, from what I hear Putin saying, he doesn't have any interest in attacking other countries with nuclear weapons. All he has is nuclear weapons to respond to someone trying to. I heard him say the other day, if someone launches a nuclear weapon, it takes us a few minutes to know whether it's coming our way, and then he said then we will launch our own, so it's mutual assured destruction. So I don't think the Germans did that because of that. But yeah, I have a chart here because I think the energy crisis has gone kind of off the boil a little bit here in Europe. But I was looking at this, and this is more important for Europe, but it affects the whole world because natural gas and even oil and coal, they are fossil fuels. So what is this chart? This is the carbon emissions future. So in Europe and in the UK, companies that use a lot of, oil, natural gas, or coal, they use these carbon emissions. They buy them to neutralize, their carbon footprint, so to speak. And I know this is all rubbish, but this futures market, in my opinion, is controlled by the bankers, and they want to see this high, a lot higher. So what this is going to do, it's going to make because natural gas is the fossil fuel that has the least carbon footprint. So I think we're gonna see a second leg higher natural gas prices in Europe. They have come off, and it could affect the whole energy sector. Yeah, have you seen this, Rafi? This carbon emissions?
No, I don't even understand the concept. What is it, like
Well,
credits?
basically, let's say BP in the UK, or let's say a factory in the UK or in Europe, they use diesel to run, their machinery or whatever, and that diesel has so much carbon footprint, and it's gone above the level that the government sets. So what they'll do is they will buy some of these carbon emission futures. They're basically giving you, so when they buy that, they're able to neutralize. It doesn't really help the environment. It's just a scam. But it basically, the higher this go, the more expensive it is for European and UK businesses and everything to use fossil fuels. So
When they're buying this carbon emissions futures, what are they buying? What is it?
it's a permission to use to emit carbon.
It's a
That's
bribe.
what it. Yeah. Sorry.
It's a bribe.
Well, because they set this up, the governments and the bankers, back in 2005. And it's like having a future on oxygen. you know, and I think this is a huge red flag for the energy market, and it's going to have.
Oh, look at that. I think I just found something that makes even less sense than Bitcoin. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's quite dangerous as well, because I think a lot of people are going to suffer from this, because, things are getting more expensive because of that. Uh, Joker Alpha says, Carlos Garcia, someone has asked a question here. I'm sorry, guys, if I couldn't see all the questions, but someone has asked a question whether Russia will demand gold and silver for their gas to heat Europe. What do you think, Rafi? Do you think they will?
Eventually, yeah. If the euro isn't worth anything, they'll have to demand something that has value.
The thing is, the euro is 15% backed by gold. Did you know that?
But
And
yeah,
they,
I knew that the ECB has some amount of gold
yeah, and
reserves.
they mark their gold to market, unlike the US.
Oh, I mean the US counts it, the Fed counts it as $42.22, and the
Yeah,
ECB on its balance sheet, yeah, values it at whatever. All right.
yeah, yeah,
It's also just a number game.
yeah. But I saw, that deal with Russia and China is to deal gas in euros. But if the Russians, if they have a big surplus of euros from selling their gas to China, they could take those euros and buy gold and silver if they want, just like they've been buying gold with their dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got 4 minutes to go. Let's try to answer some questions. What is the difference between Federal Reserve note and a Ponzi scheme?
Is that the beginning of a joke, or are you asking a question?
I don't know. It's a question. There isn't much, is there?
Fiat money is a Ponzi scheme. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
it's just that it's a government. It's been put into law. It was legislated, so it has respectability. That's the only reason why it's still going. It's like if his name was Charles Ponzi, the guy who started the Ponzi scheme, if he got together with the government, he might have still be the Ponzi scheme might still be around.
Even
When
even the very structure of it. I mean,
yeah,
in order to have a fiat currency, it comes into existence by buying debt, and
yeah,
debt has to be paid back. In order to pay it back, you have to issue more.
yeah,
So that's what a Ponzi scheme is. In order to pay back the investors, you have to issue more debt. That's the
yeah.
same structure.
Steve Ross Holmes, when carbon futures are initially created, who gets that money? Banks, government, or Greta? No, I think it's more to do with the government. They issue the carbon permissions, but the bankers are involved with the government. I remember when they were creating this future back in 05, because I worked for MF Global, and they were a big futures company, and they were involved in setting up the contract on the ICE exchange. And then Goldman Sachs bought the ICE exchange as well. So yeah, the government issues those permits.
Didn't MF Global also collapse?
They did. They collapsed. I think I left MF Global in 2010, and a month later, Corzine took over,
It was
and
Corzine,
then
right? John Corzine.
yeah, and then a year or two later, he just wrecked the company, because it was we were only a broker. We didn't take positions. We only dealt for our clients, but he took the clients' monies, and started trading for the firm, and basically bankrupted it. And I think he got hammered in the European sovereign debt crisis. He took the wrong bond positions.
Oops.
Yeah. How much physical silver should one own? What amount is too much? You want to answer that, Rafi? Last question.
I'd say about 6 months to a year of expenses per person, I say is enough.
All
And
right.
how much is that? You gotta look at prices in let's say in the 1920s for milk and basic necessities, and how much you would need for food and rent, and do it in silver terms. And I'd say maybe 10, $20,000 per person at these
Yeah.
prices should be enough.
I was looking the other day, I was reading a book about Brazilian history, and they were talking about the price of things. And a meal in Brazil, in Rio, in the 1880s cost about 9.3 grams of silver. So like less than half an ounce. So there you go. I mean, maybe it's I'll do a video about that once. Could be quite interesting. All right, Rafi, thank you for joining us. I enjoyed
Having
that. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And maybe one day we can also do like an interview, not live, and publish it on my channel. And everyone, thank you for participating, for all your questions and the super chats. And if you're new to the channel, think about subscribing, and also think about, go and look at Rafi's channel. Someone said that he looks sad and upset, but Rafi's really funny. He's a comedian as well. So go to Rafi Farber on YouTube and enjoy his videos. Okay. Rafi, I'm gonna, thank you.